Marge Ptaszek was searching for the purpose of her life and the truth that would tie everything together to make sense of what was taught and what was happening on our planet, the fire that was creating all the smoke. Through many experiences, she was finally led to the knowledge book that provided all the answers. She is now talking about this gift to humanity on Knowledge Book Radio, so all can be united in peace, love, and harmony. Please call 1-973-787-7035 or email mmjp99@gmail.com with questions. If you send your postal address to mmjp99@gmail.com, you will receive 3 chapters of the Knowledge Book as a gift. Now, here is your host, Marge Ptaszek.
Hello, everyone. I'm Marge Ptaszek, and you're listening to Knowledge Book Radio with Marge Ptaszek on Transformation Talk Radio. And this week and this month, we will continue with our Omega Talks. And these are Omega conferences and it is at the 76th energy level. And now this dimension has not been open to humanity at all throughout its evolution history. The Omega dimension, otherwise known as the union of central suns, is a unification dimension. All of us will eventually, when we follow the path designed, wind up in the Omega dimension. Till now, the highest dimension and the highest energy that was given to humanity was the Alpha dimension, which is the 18th dimension, or the 72nd energy level. So this is available to humanity through the religious texts. Now, the Omega dimension, or the 19th dimension, has been open to humanity with the Knowledge Book. And the Omega Talks are being given once a month in a wide variety of topics. And the knowledge that is being given is actually linked to the union of central suns. And eventually all the knowledge that we have in the world will be unified at the union of central suns. Now, in addition, the talks that are given are charged with Omega energy. And again, Omega is a dimension of unification. And those who participate in the talks, they form a reflective magnetic field. And that Omega dimension is then open to the whole world, and thus helps people to achieve this positive consciousness. So anyone who takes part in Omega or an Omega talk is actually doing a great service to humanity, since everyone on the planet, even those who are not reading the Knowledge Book, are able to receive the positive Omega energies. Now I'll just recap the information for contact or information. The Turkish website is DKB, David Kite Boy Mevlana.org.tr. The United States website for the USA.theknowledgebook.net, and the Call to Friendship website is calltofriendship.org. My contact information is mmjp99@gmail.com. That's Mary John Peter @gmail.com, 99@gmail.com, and my telephone number is 973-787-7035. So please contact me if you have any questions or suggestions for topics or anything that you would like to know about the Knowledge Book or the Omega program. Okay, so this month the conference is on glass. So my email address is mmjp99@gmail.com. That's Mary John Peter 99@gmail.com. And my telephone number is 973-787-7035. Please contact me for any questions you may have about this current presentation or previous presentations, or about the program itself, or whether we're having an Omega meeting in person that is held every month on the last Saturday of the month at a location in Manhattan. If you're interested in actually being on location while this talk is being given in person, then please contact me at mmjp99@gmail.com or 973-787-7035, and I'll be able to provide you with the time and the location for the presentation. All are welcome. Okay, so let's start today's conference. This is coming from the Call to Friendship Association World Unification Program, and the topic for this month is glass. The transformation of raw materials into glass is a captivating alchemy that begins with the humblest of elements, sand. At its core, glass is formed from silica, the primary constituent of sand, that is combined with soda ash and limestone, which act as catalysts. So as long as you have sand and you mix it with soda ash and limestone and provide the proper temperature, glass will be produced. This blend is then heated to approximately 3090 degrees Fahrenheit or 1700 degrees Celsius. And this is the temperature at which, combined with those catalysts, this is the temperature at which sand becomes decrystallized and becomes molten and becomes in a molten state. It's a liquid. Now, as the liquid cools, it doesn't crystallize as other materials might. In other words, if you have an ice cube, once it melts, it becomes water, and it becomes liquid. But in case of sand and silica, it doesn't form a complete liquid. Instead, it forms an amorphous solid, a state that is neither fully liquid nor solid, but somewhere in between. And this unique structure gives glass its characteristic clarity and strength. So this is why we can have fiber optic cables that are made of glass. This is why we could have special car windows that if the car window is broken, then it comes apart like in pieces of corn falling, and why skyscrapers and that have glass windows also are able to be broken. So it's not dangerous. It doesn't have dangerous shards for pedestrians or people. So glass is actually an inorganic solid material that is usually transparent or translucent, as well as hard, brittle, and impervious to the natural elements. So we could use it in buildings because acid rain does not dissolve it, hailstone does not break it, and so it's a safe, at the same time it provides visibility from inside the building to the outside of the building. Now, glass has been made into practical and decorative objects since ancient times. It is still very important in applications as disparate as buildings, construction, housewares, and telecommunications. I had mentioned fiber optics. That's also used in computers. Now let's go over a little bit of history as to how glass came about and what it started in its progression. Stone Age man used obsidian, naturally occurring black volcanic glass, and tektites to craft weapons and decorative objects. So when a volcano erupts, part of the matter that is created from that molten rock becomes obsidian, becomes glass, which then can be chipped and then can be used to as cutting tools. Now, archaeological finds in Egypt and Eastern Mesopotamia indicate that the first manufactured glass dates to 3000 BC. So this is at least a 5,000-year-old manufacturing method. The oldest fragments of glass vases were found in Mesopotamia in the 16th century BC, indicating the origins of the hollow glass industry. Hollow glass production was concurrently evolving in Egypt, Mycenae or Greece, China, and North Tyrol. The first glassmaking manual was from the library of the Assyrian king Ashurbanipal, who lived in 669 to 626 BC and dates to around 600 and 650 BC. So this is the ability to have glass hold and contain liquid or some other mass on the inside. And quote, take 60 parts sand, 180 parts ash from sea plants, 5 parts chalk, and you get glass, end quote. This is what was written in a clay tablet in cuneiform around 650 BC. This is our first instruction manual, or the instruction manual that was found, telling us how and the proportion of the materials to use to produce glass. Though in this one, it doesn't mention the temperature. In the beginning, glass making was slow and costly. It was really a luxury item that few people could afford. The discovery of the glass blowing technique around the end of the 1st century revolutionized glass production. The glass blowing invention was attributed to Syrian craftsmen. The technique made glass production easier, faster, and cheaper, and glass, for the first time, became available to ordinary citizens. The tools and techniques of glass blowing have changed very little over the centuries. So it's been done the same way over time. The art of glass making flourished in the Roman Empire and spread across Western Europe and the Mediterranean. Glass became one of the most important items of trade beyond the borders of the Roman Empire. The Romans were the first to use glass for architectural purposes when clear glass was discovered in Alexandria around 100 AD. Flourishing glass industry developed in Venice, Italy at the end of the 13th century. In 1291, equipment for glassmaking was transferred to the Venetian island of Murano, where cristallo, or colorless glass, was invented by Angelo Barovier. Despite the efforts of the Venetian artisans who dominated the glass industry to keep their technology secret, it soon spread around Europe. So the reason why the technology was moved to Murano is because at that time, manufacturing of glass and glass blowing was dangerous because of the high temperatures that were required. So they moved it off to the island of Murano so that the production of glass only affected a small area. And as usual, nothing stays a secret forever. So eventually that secret became public, and others could benefit from learning about the way the glass was produced. Now, crystal was a purer, completely transparent type of glass with a remarkable sheen, making it extremely attractive. It wasn't long before the world fell in love with Venetian crystal, leading to a surge in demand across Europe, cementing Venice's place in the history of glassmaking. As you can see in this example on the screen, glass can produce very beautiful results. In Germany and other Northern European countries, glassmaking became important by the late 1400s and early 1500s, and during the 1500s, it became important in England. George Ravenscroft, an English glassmaker, patented lead glass in 1674. Lead glass is relatively soft, and its refractive index gives a brilliance that may be exploited by covering the surface with polished will-cut facets. Such glass is often known by the term lead crystal. A lot of people like to own the lead crystal because it is so pretty, especially when light hits it. After 1890, the development, manufacture, and use of glass increased rapidly. Glass has evolved through advancing technologies and technological evolution naturally, and it still is continuing to evolve and progress. Now, glass blowing is basically a hands-on technique. You need a person, you need a blow tube, and you need the furnace, and it is a production of the glass on a one-by-one, piece-by-piece basis. So when this process was mechanized, which was done in the latter stages of the Industrial Revolution by the invention by Michael Owens of an automatic bottle blowing machine in 1903 that could produce 2,500 bottles per hour. So as opposed to producing one item of hand-blown glass, maybe in 2 hours or 3 hours, you produce 2,500 bottles every hour. In the late 1950s, so now we're talking about the 20th century, Sir Alastair Pilkington introduced the float glass production method by which 90% of flat glass is still manufactured today. So glass, when it becomes glass, and when it becomes this, I guess, molasses type fluid, it's a blob. It has no its own structural shape. So we need to be able to have a method by which that shape that is desired is actually created. And getting a flat piece of glass of uniform thickness is not an easy feat. So this manufacturing technique where glass is melted at one end, and then there's a cooling zone and a method by which that glass's height is squeezed to the desired dimension. That allows us to have window glass and car windows and whatever glass is necessary. In the 19th and 20th centuries, there was a new era in history of glass making as the Industrial Revolution hit its stride. Factories could now produce vast quantities of glass items at unprecedented speeds. Simultaneously, the scientific and engineering communities made significant strides in experimenting with and refining different types of glass for various applications. Today, we find glass in every corner of our lives, from architectural marvels to the device screens we can't seem to live without. Glass making is a modern high-tech industry. Modern glass plants can make millions of glass containers a day in many different colors and have been developed for precise continuous production of sheet glass tubing, containers, bulbs, and a host of other products. So if you look around the house or look around, the apartment or look around just in general, there are lots and lots of glass products, from the light bulbs to the protective screens we have on our cell phones. It's amazing, to windshields, and as far as the cars are concerned, it's an amazing production of glass from sand. So here we have a long view of going from 3500 BCE, before the Common Era, to the current time frame up to the year 2012. I won't go through it step by step because it will take too long. But here are some of the highlights. So glass blowing itself is a glass forming technique that involves inflating molten glass into a bubble with the aid of a blowpipe or blow tube. As we discovered, glass blowing was invented by Syrian craftsmen in the 1st century BC, where blown vessels for everyday and luxury use were produced commercially and exported to all parts of the Roman Empire. So here we see the glass being blown inside the furnace. And this is a method of joining additional pieces to the one that was created to make a handle or some other kind of decorative item. Now this technique has remained basically the same to the present day. The metal or molten glass having the consistency of molasses is gathered on the end of a hollow pipe, inflated to a bubble, and formed into a vessel by blowing, swinging, and rolling on a smooth stone or iron surface or marble. So basically, because glass is a liquid or partial liquid, as it is being held at the end of the blowpipe, it starts to get affected by gravity and starts drooping. So you constantly have to rotate the item to make sure that it is symmetrical in its shape. It's only when the glass actually cools to a certain temperature that it becomes stable in shape and retains its shape. So additions such as stems, feet, or handles are attached by welding. While still soft, the glass can be manipulated by hand, tools, or cut with shears. In the 17th century, the gaffer, a bench with two extended arms on which the pipe is trundled to preserve the symmetry of the molten glass, came into use. Now you've got to think about the fact that this tube, the steel tube that is used to inflate the glass, is quite long. So holding it up and maintaining a symmetrical form at the end of that tube is quite hard. So what they have is a stand on which the end of the tube is supported, and that is actually rolled to the oven. And then it's easier for the person who is doing the hand blow doing the glass blowing to control the product and to control what it looks like in the end. So here are some of the items that can be produced with glass. We have buildings, stained glass, another form of stained glass. Again, buildings. This looks like a building in England, in London. And then here we have architectural art. Now, Murano glass, which we covered a little bit before, is also known as Venetian glass, and it's a type of glassware that originates from the island of Murano in Venice, Italy. It is renowned for its exquisite craftsmanship and vibrant colors, often featuring elaborate designs and techniques that have been refined over centuries. So if you can see on this example, you have different colors, different shapes, and they're all unified in this single piece. It's an amazing technique to be able to produce such. So it includes, now each one of these pieces is a tube of glass that has this formation, and that tube is actually cut like you cut candy. And then that is attached to the glass blown form. And if you have enough of them together, then it melts into the glass that has been blown and produces different designs. Now, Murano glass is made using a variety of methods, including blowing, molding, and engraving, to create everything from vases and chandeliers to sculptures and jewelry. I remember I had a piece of Murano glass jewelry, very pretty. Now, the tradition of glass making in Murano dates back to the 13th century, It has become synonymous with Venetian artistry and luxury. The glassmakers of Murano were highly regarded for their skills and were often kept on their island to protect the secrets of their trade. But as we well know, those secrets were dispersed. But even today, Murano glass remains a sought-after collector's item and a symbol of the rich cultural heritage of Venice. So here we have glass balls, forms of flowers, and another vase that is produced by a multiple technique. All of these are actually blown glass. Another type of glass is stained glass. It is a form of decorative art that involves creating designs with pieces of colored glass. The glass is typically colored by adding metallic salts during its manufacture. These pieces are then arranged to form patterns or pictures and are held together by strips of lead and supported by a rigid frame. This art form has been predominantly used in the windows of churches and other significant religious buildings throughout history. The creation of stained glass requires both artistic skill to conceive a design and engineering skills to assemble the piece. It often includes painted details and yellow stain to enhance the design. While traditional stained glass windows are flat panels, modern stained glass artists also create three-dimensional structures and sculptures. Stained glass has a rich history dating back over 1,000 years and is considered a major form of medieval pictorial art that has survived to this day. Now, not only was the stained glass used in churches, we also have a use of stained glass by the architect Wright. And if you remember, there's also Tiffany that made stained glass windows and made lamps. And he's famous for his use of stained glass. Architectural glass is glass that is used as a building material. It is most typically used as transparent glazing material in the building envelope, including windows and the external walls. Glass is also used for internal partitions and as an architectural feature. When used in buildings, a safety type of glass is used, such as reinforced, toughened, and laminated glasses. Glass architecture is a term used to describe a volume for which glass is used as an architectural design element that goes beyond the usual use. It begins with the industrial production of larger glasses in the mid-18th century. So if you could see here, the glass is used to cover different surfaces and it becomes part of the architectural design. So it's not only an envelope, it also allows the artist or the architect to produce specific effects. Now here are some of the iconic glass buildings. Crystal Palace in London, 1851. This is a 6.4 hectare big crystal palace, glass palace, designed by Joseph Paxton. It's an iconic glass building. It was constructed in Hyde Park for the Great Exhibition, later moved to Sydenham and destroyed by a fire in 1936. So if anyone's been to the Bronx Botanical Gardens, there's a large display of this kind of architecture of glass. So the glass would allows the plants on the inside to receive the light that they need, but at the same time, it protects them from more harmful rain, more harmful weather and cold. The other iconic building is the large tropical house in Berlin in 1907. This tropical greenhouse in the Botanical Garden, Berlin. The architect of the tropical greenhouse was Alfred Kerner, who designed the building with a steel frame and glass panels. The external supporting structure reduces the heat loss and the water condensation on the steel beams that could damage the plants. Another iconic building is the Louvre Pyramid in Paris that was constructed in 1989. In the early 1980s, the Louvre was smaller and more somber than it is today. Due to the increasing number of visitors, the entrances of the building were no longer up to the task. So the Louvre Pyramid was designed by architect Lo Ming-pei as a new entrance that is located in the courtyard since 1989. So if you could see what the effect of the light is on the inside, it's amazing what you can do with glass. There's also the Aros Aarhus Art Museum in Aarhus, 2004. This art museum in Denmark is a collaboration of art and architecture. The building consists of 2 volumes, a cube-shaped building, and the artwork Your Rainbow Panorama by artist Olafur Eliasson. So this is another that's quite huge if you could see the people inside. Now the National Grand of China, Beijing in 2000 shape and its surrounding artificial lake that is reminiscent of the traditional yin and yang motif. The building is connected to the shore of the lake by a 60-meter transparent underpass. This creates the impression of a complete building without an opening. Again, amazing use of glass. You have a scale of this building because this looks like maybe a person. The Elbphilharmonie, designed by Herzog de Meuron, was completed in November 2016. It has 2 parts. The Kaiserpictor, which was built in 1963, and a glass-covered part that resembles sails, water waves, and icebergs. The 2 parts are joined by a plaza on the old warehouse. So this is the old warehouse, and these are what looks like sails or icebergs. Again, amazing architecture. Now we also have something called glass art. Glass art refers to individual works of art that are substantially or wholly made of glass. It ranges in size from monumental works and installations to wall hangings and windows, to works of art made in studios and factories, including glass jewelry and tableware. In the early 20th century, most glass production happened in factories. Even individual glassblowers that produced their own personalized designs would do their work in those large shared buildings. The idea of art glass or small decorative works, often with designs or objects inside, flourished later in the 20th century. Pieces produced in small production runs, such as the lampwork figures, are generally called art glass. So these are cute little, I would say maybe 2 inches. Then, of course, you have this glass inside a silver encasing. By the 1970s, there were good designs for small furnaces, and in the United States, this gave rise to the studio glass movement of glass blowers who blew their glass outside of factories, often in their own studios. This coincided with a move towards smaller production runs of a particular style. This movement spread to other parts of the world as well. So each one of these is its own individual blown glass that is then compiled in a whole. Historical collections of glass art can be found in general museums. Modern works of glass art can be seen in dedicated glass museums and museums of contemporary art. These include the Chrysler Museum in Norfolk, Virginia, the Museum of Glass in Tacoma, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Toledo Museum of Art, and Corning Museum of Glass in Corning, New York, which houses the world's largest collection of glass art and history, with more than 45,000 objects in its collection. The Museum of Fine Arts in Boston features a 42.5 feet, 13 meters tall glass sculpture called the Lime Green Icicle Tower by Dale Chihuly, an American glass artist and entrepreneur who has moved to the field of blown glass into the realm of large-scale sculpture. So this piece is actually inside the museum, actually on the same level as the coffee shop. It's huge, and each one of these, I don't know whether they could be called leaves or stems, is individually glass blown and then compiled onto a central core that supports it. It's huge. Now, Dale Chihuly has works of art in many locations around the world. His glass art has been displayed at the Desert Botanical Garden in Phoenix, Arizona, and in the Seattle Central Park and Entertainment Complex in Seattle, Washington, in the US. His work is often displayed in botanical gardens, including Kew Gardens in London. So when I was at the Bronx Botanical Gardens, they had a display of Chihuly art, and you would see these forms in between cacti, in between or floating behind or in front of water lilies or lotuses or anywhere they would see. It was really beautiful. In February 2000, the Smith Museum of Stained Glass Windows, located in Chicago's Navy Pier, opened as the first museum in America dedicated solely to stained glass windows. The museum features works by Lois Comfort Tiffany and John Lafarge and is open daily, free to the public. So we have here stained glass that is not really depicting any kind of a religious scene, but you have a modern, kind of reminds me of quilting patterns, a modern form of stained glass. The UK's National Glass Centre is in the city of Sunderland, Tyne and Wear. It is a museum dedicated to the history of glass making and contains several galleries with changing exhibits. I can't decide what this is. I leave it up to you to figure out what this is as well. Now we'll go through famous glass artists, and here are some of the products that came from their creativity. René Lalique. Now he was originally a jewelry designer, and he transitioned into glass making, creating innovative techniques with clear and frosted glass. His work helped to popularize the Art Deco movement. Wow. Dragonflies. Martin Blank is an American glass artist known for his expressive and dynamic sculptures, and that often capture the fluidity and grace of the human form. Dale Chihuly. Now, Dale Chihuly is a contemporary American artist. He is famous for his ambitious architectural installations and vibrant large-scale sculptures made of blown glass. Chihuly's work is celebrated for its bold colors and ambitious architectural settings. Now, Dale Chihuly is actually blind in one eye. The cause of that blindness is a mystery, but we need to remember that glass blowing is as safe as possible, but accidents do happen. So he has a workshop with 40 people that produce these individual pieces of blown glass, because each one of these is an individual piece that's hand blown, and then it's put together into a larger piece. A pioneering Czech glass artist and designer, Vera Liskova is celebrated for her innovative work with borosilicate glass, traditionally used in scientific apparatus, which she shaped over an oxygen flame to create large abstract sculptures. So if maybe you remember in chemistry class, if you heated up a glass rod, it became liquid. And this glass is used typically in scientific research. It has a special characteristic, and she formed this by that technique of glass blowing on a rod or some of the other already formed objects. Carol Myrne is again an internationally recognized Canadian-American sculptor, and she is best known for her knitted glass work. Milne's sculptures are not only visually striking, but also represent a fascinating blend of traditional craft and contemporary art, making her a significant figure in the field of art glass or glass art. Now, for the life of me, I cannot figure out how she managed to get all the loops put together this way. Now, Lino Tagliapietra is an Italian glass artist originally from Venice, and he has played a key role in the international exchange of glass flowing processes and techniques between the principal American centers and his native Murano. So he must be a descendant of all the original, or maybe he moved there. I can't guess. The Art Guide Northwest reported that by adopting a boundary-free global attitude about skill sharing, the evolution of artistic vision in glass, Tagliapietra became the single most important living figure for glass. So knowledge is for sharing, not for holding tight. And everyone benefits, not just one person or one family. Ritsuei Mishima, a sculptor of light, is a Japanese artist renowned for her unique approach to Venetian glass, creating intuitive, transparent glass creations with rough and occasionally playful surfaces. Her glass pieces take their inspiration from natural forms and are strictly colorless. The reflections created by the play of light and the different transparencies in her work are unique. It's amazing how the artists have their own imagination, are able to create so many different works of art. So the humblest of elements, opaque, rough sand, can be transformed through heat and catalyst into smooth and transparent glass that can be made into beautiful art. Throughout our evolution, we have been infused with positive energy by the sacred texts and now by the knowledge book and its programs. Combined with the tough experiences undergone, we will, just like glass, become transparent. Beautiful crystal bowl. So again, sand, it's opaque, it's rough. Think of sandpaper. Think of trying to walk on a sandy beach. It's harder to do, therefore it gives you more exercise because the sand shifts. So this is a rough, opaque, very base material found everywhere, and that can be transformed by catalysts, by something outside of itself, that does not in itself change, but it allows a change to occur. So this is how the sacred texts have been working with us and for us. They themselves do not change in their essence. However, they're able to give us those items that provide the opportunity, the environment for us to be able to grow and to evolve and to obtain more and more positive energy. Now, our consciousness evolves from the awareness of one's own existence. As we develop infinite love, infinite patience, and infinite tolerance that is combined with the intention to seek truth, we will reach our true self or the genuine human. So we are evolving, and the path of evolvement is actually the path of love. Because love is actually what created everything, what maintains everything, and allows everything to progress. So if you do not have love, you cannot have patience. If you do not have love, you cannot have tolerance. So basically, everything is based on love. And love is actually caring for another as if they were yourself. So in other words, you have to love yourself in order to be able to love others. And you love others because you're able to love yourself. As the human evolves, it is charged with more and more positive energy and moves towards higher dimensions, transforming into a transparent being of light. So eventually, over time, as we are working with the programs that are given to us through the Alpha program, the Omega program, through all the sacred texts that have come here, have been given to the planet, given to humanity. Excuse me. All those energies are actually being given to us in order for us to get more and more positive energies and are able to evolve on the path of love. Now, there are some things that are said about this in the knowledge book. So in Fatical 5, it says, quote, "The genuine human is the human who will emanate her divine light on those around himself, herself, without being lost in the problems of her depression. You will see that your endeavors will one day sprout. All these depend on humanity's ability to perceive the perceptions beyond the dimensions that have been prepared in accordance with the theory of evolution. If your subconscious can receive these currents fully, then you can easily enter the path of light. You gain consciousness as you leap over the threshold. Your endeavors are for your own benefit." So as long as we don't let any kind of what we consider to be bad occurrences, bad experiences, stop us, we can proceed on and on. And actually, we find over time that all those obstacles that are in our path were actually stepping stones, not obstacles. Because each one of those stepping stones led us to a higher dimension, led us to a different understanding, led us to a different level of love. And different levels of love allow us to be able to absorb more and more of the energies that we need in order to become genuine humans and progress on the path to genuine human, to being a genuine human. In Fatical 16, they are beings that are beyond history, beyond universes. They have become transparent. That is, the more a human is charged with positive energy, the more wakeful mediums will he be taken by the powers that pull him or up. So there are transparent beings that have actually gone through this evolutionary path previously, and they are the ones that are helping us right now. So we eventually also will become transparent when we have absorbed lots and lots of positive energy, and the knowledge book is actually here to give us all the previous energies and the current energies and beyond. So the dimension of the knowledge book are infinite. However, it can only give us the energies that we need at the level that we are at so that we are not harmed in any way. 15, Fatical 16 continued. Afterwards, they become so transparent through evolvement beyond evolvements that they become a light and a different kind of energy here. From then on, they each are a light made up of colors far from matter. Only their eyes of essence are seen. They themselves are a prismatic light. Let me do this again. They are beings that are beyond history, beyond universes. They have become transparent. That is, the more a human is charged with positive energy, into more wakeful mediums will he be taken by the powers that pull him, her up. Afterwards, they become so transparent through evolvement beyond evolvements that they become a light and a different kind of energy here. From then on, they each are a light made up of colors far from matter. Only their eyes of essence are seen. They themselves are a prismatic light. So the energies, we are now in what is called the transparent revolution. We are here in the next phase of our evolution on the path of love to be able to absorb more and more positive energy and become transparent like glass. And we are done. Let's go back to the beginning. So to summarize, glass is something that is formed through a process using sand and catalysts and temperature. So the opaque becomes transparent and clear, and that allows that unformed blobs of crystalline silica to be then melted into something that is kind of a liquid, but not as really a liquid, is not really a solid. It's something in between, and that allows that transparent substance to be pulled into, let's say, a fiber optic cable, to be formed into a windshield, to be formed into the cover of our cell phones, to be able to, for us to be able to use it in buildings, use it to make beautiful things to decorate our homes or ourselves. So we're going from opaqueness to transparency. We are in a transparent revolution. Now, so we're going to positivity, complete positivity, compute transparency like glass is transparent and it's clear. So, okay, so to wrap it up, again, if you have a need for more information, please look at the websites www.dkb-mevlana.org.tr. The United States website is www.usa.theknowledgebook.net. And the Call to Friendship website is www.calltofriendship.org. Again, my information is mmjp99@gmail.com, Mary John Peter 99@gmail.com. Telephone number is 973-787-7035. Please text, call, or email me with any questions you may have or comments you have on this topic or any previous topics that we have covered. To recap, the Omega Talks are given once a month in a wide variety of topics, and the knowledge that is being given is actually linked to the Union of Central Suns, or Omega. In addition, the talks that are given are charged with Omega energy, and again, Omega is a dimension of unification, and those who participate in the talk, they form a reflection magnetic field, and the Omega dimension is open to the whole world, and anyone who takes part in an Omega talk is actually doing a great service to humanity, since everyone on the planet, even those who are not reading the knowledge book, are able to receive the positive Omega energies. So again, the invitation is out. If you want to come in person, New York area, please contact me and I'll be able to give you the information for the location and time. Okay, thank you. On our path to transparency. Thank you.
You've been listening to Knowledge Book Radio with Marge Ptaszek. Marge was led to the Knowledge Book, a gift to humanity at its time of transition to the Golden Age that provides the truth, energies, and knowledge Now she shares information from and answers questions about the Knowledge Book with you the fourth Tuesday each month at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on transformationtalkradio.com. For more information, visit usa.theknowledgebook.net and tune in next time for another amazing show on Knowledge Book Radio.